The Biden family in the hot seat today. House Republicans are announcing they do have the votes to formalize an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden, as a vote could come later this morning. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson.
It's the next necessary step. The White House has stonewalled this investigation. It's gone methodically, carefully, as the Constitution requires of us. It's a very serious matter. But right now, they're not turning over documents. They're not turning over key witnesses. And we'll have to defend our subpoenas in court. So to do that, you need an impeachment inquiry vote from the full House.
Meanwhile, Hunter Biden is supposed to sit for a closed-door deposition in front of the House Oversight Committee, but his recent indictment in California could complicate things and might give him an excuse not to show up. But if he does not, he will be held in contempt of Congress, according to House Republicans. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer explained what all of this means with me here last week on the program.
He should be afraid of that. Why? He should be more afraid of that than anyone in America, because he's in more trouble than anyone in America, probably who's ever been subpoenaed in front of a congressional investigation. I mean, this guy is under investigation for crimes ranging from money laundering to securities fraud and everything in between. If he gets voted in contempt of Congress, that's more penalties that he's going to have to pay a price for when his judgment day finally happens.
And all of this because of all of the evidence House Republicans have exposed and released. Caroline Levitt, your reaction.
Yeah, well, this impeachment inquiry today is certainly welcome news for the American people. It's well past due, and it's a necessary step. Look, I think the Hunter Biden indictment actually proves the case for impeachment even more. What it shows is that Hunter Biden accepted millions of dollars from foreign entities when his father was vice president. It also shows that in 2014, Burisma gave Hunter Biden a salary of $1 million. Well, in 2017, when Joe Biden was no longer vice president, what happened? That salary was cut in half. We also have, of course, the mountains of evidence that James Comer and Jim Jordan have revealed through their great work in the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees, mountains of text messages, emails, bank wires, bank checks. We also have Joe Biden himself on tape when he was vice president bragging that he got the prosecutor looking into Burisma fired. There's more than enough evidence to move forward. Let's not forget that it was the Democrats who impeached Donald Trump for asking about this corruption and digging into it. Republicans need to move forward. It's time to demand justice and accountability for the American people.
A new Axios report claims that President Biden says he feels guilty about these attacks on his son. He claims that the president has told close associates if he hadn't run in 2020, there would be no investigations into Hunter Biden Lee. That's what the president is saying to colleagues.
Wow. Well, I mean, maybe that's true. And maybe a lot of people wish that he didn't run as well. But the bottom line is he did.
But if he didn't run and become president, he might not have had the gravy train continue, right, with all this money going into his coffers.
Exactly. But I think that the big story here, right, is that the American people have really looked at everything that's happened. And they said there's a two-tier system of justice. There's something that seems to be so unfair about the way Donald Trump is treated versus Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and his family. And I think this is going to probably level the playing field a little bit. And hopefully we'll start to get a real window into what's going on, and maybe the American people will start to have some faith that the investigations are really going to happen.
Adam, how do you see it?
I'm torn, and I'll tell you why. I think this investigation has to move forward, as Caroline just outlined very eloquently, I might add. There are mountains of evidence as to why it needs to move forward. However, I don't think anything will ultimately come of it. You need a simple majority to be impeached in the House. You need a two-thirds majority to be found guilty. There have only been 4 impeachments in history: Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump twice. They were impeached by the House but dismissed by the Senate. So I think we know how it's going to play out. You need to have, beyond a shadow of a doubt, some sort of smoking gun. There's a lot of ugly stuff that we're embarrassed about that makes me, as a Republican, extremely uncomfortable about what has happened in the White House by the Biden family. But actually pinning an email that says save this for the big guy, which is about as close as we've seen to smoking gun, is far from actually saying, see, that's Biden. He's out.
I don't know about that. There are emails from bank regulators, that one email from the money laundering expert at the bank who said there's unusual, erratic activity. This is a risky client. There are millions of dollars that ultimately went from the Chinese Communist Party to some entity owned by Hunter Biden to ultimately getting to Joe Biden's account. Then you've got all these questions as far as why he's so soft on China and why they accepted $5 million from Communist China, Caroline. You know, the Biden say it was a loan, but how would you, who would ever accept a loan from China?
It's so dirty, it's so bad. But again, you know, are you actually going to get 2/3 of Democratic senators to go against it?
Well, they were all in on doing it to Donald Trump.
Yes,
and they didn't actually have any evidence. They didn't have any evidence. But here they do.
And that's up to House Republicans to make that case, right? And James Comer and Jim Jordan, I think they've done this the right way. They have slowly unraveled the evidence to the American public over the last several months, proving their case. Now they certainly have enough, they feel as they do, in order to bring this impeachment inquiry forward. I think it's going to be successful. And most importantly, it's about showing accountability to the American public. We have an election coming up, right? They deserve to know the truth.